Welcome to all of you joining us virtually for today's program, High Impact Partnerships, Breaking Down the Skills Gap in Latin America. I'm Maria Lourdes Terán, Vice President and Head of the Council of the Americas office in Miami. Today, we're honored to be hosting an incredible panel of senior business leaders from across the region who will share their perspectives on how companies and communities can work together to empower youth and address unemployment and talent shortages across the region. Our esteemed panel includes Martin Burt, Executive Director, Fundación Paraguay, Nelly Cetera, Partnerships Development Assistant and JA Alumni, J Americas, Carolina Dolan Chandler, Chief Digital Officer, Globant, Sean Summers, Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer at Mercado Libre. The conversation will be moderated by Noel Semboran, President, J Americas. Today's speakers collectively represent the opportunities for collaboration that we have in the Americas and the positive impact that corporate partnerships can have on the empowerment of youth in the region. At Council of the Americas, we're proud to provide a space for leaders to engage in forward-thinking and collaborative discussions on the most important issues driving growth and development opportunities in Latin America. I want to thank our 2023 sponsors of Council of the Americas programs in Miami, CAF, Development Bank of Latin America, and Greenberg Torrig. With that, Noel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. Bueno, thank you to all the team of the Council of the Americas for hosting us today. As you said, it's a long partnership that we have together, and we are very grateful for that. So thank you, all of you, for coming here, for participating in this panel, and for our panel speakers, our guest speakers today, for willing to be engaged in this conversation that we are sure will bring a lot of learnings for all of us. So, as you know, I've just been appointed as president of Junior Team Americas. I'm very honored to be part of this organization. I'm a JA alumnus myself, as Nelly also, and Sean. And Sean. And we are of the same generation.
I look older, but I'm not that much older. Yeah.
So we will be engaging in a very interesting and conversation about how high-impact public and private partnerships can break down the skills gap in the region through effective and scalable solutions. So we are looking for impact and we're looking for scale, both at the same time. So junior achievement has been around for more than 100 years now, and we envision a world where lots of youth have the mindset and the skills that will make them prosper and access to all of the opportunities. We just came from a conversation about artificial intelligence. There is a lot of going on around the technology field, and we want all of our youth to really take advantage of these opportunities. So before starting, I will make a brief introduction of all our speakers today. We have Martin Burt. Martin is a social entrepreneur who has developed anti-poverty and educational social innovations that are currently being implemented. He's founder and CEO of Fundación Paraguay, a social enterprise named Latin America's most impactful and innovative development organization by IDB. Martin is a former member of the board of directors of the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship, and he's also served as chief of staff to the president of Paraguay, was elected mayor of Asunción, and appointed vice minister of commerce. So he knows a lot also about politics and how government can help bridge the skills gap too. Carolina is a software engineer. She leads Globant's internal digital transformation as chief digital officer. But she's also she masters marketing fields too. Her overall experiences has allowed her to work with companies such as Google and Electronic Arts on different branches of different industries, at e-commerce, entertainment, and also government applications. We have Sean Summers, who is the current He's our new regional board chair for J Americas. And he's also the chief marketing officer of Mercado Libre. Has an extensive general management and commercial experience in e-commerce, fintech, and consumer goods. And he's also an investor and advisor of internet startups. And last but not least, Nelly Cetera is our new J Americas alumni coordinator. She was one of the co-founders and first president of J Argentina Alumni Network, and is part of our team now. She has recently graduated from International Affairs at Universidad Torquato Di Tella, and I can say that she's passionate about youth networks, focusing on creating positive community impact, and is a member also of Global Shapers. So we have a fabulous panel here today, different voices, different perspectives. So I will kick off the discussion with some data, because I know this panel loves data, no? So according to a recent study by the IDB, there are over 1 million job vacancies in the region in technology. There is another study by Microsoft and LinkedIn that tell us that there is a 10 million job openings in 2025. So very promising numbers, lots of opportunities coming. But on the other side, we have other numbers that are quite dramatic. The International Labour Organization says that youth unemployment rate in Latin America and the Caribbean is significantly higher than the global rate, 20% versus 14%. Another study we conducted with Manpower in the region concluded that over 80% of youth declared to have difficulty finding a first job. And the World Economic Forum stated that half the global labor force might need reskilling by 2025, and that many students will continue to lack the necessary skills to thrive in this future of work. So two sides of the coin, no? Many opportunities, but a huge skills gap that we are identifying. So maybe start with Sean. Tell us, how do you react to these numbers, and which are the key factors that you consider are contributing to this growing skills gap in the region?
So I'm an optimist. So let me start with the number. We're generating jobs in the region related to technology, which I think is great. The region that has been for many, many decades too dependent on, extractive and, basic industries. I think that the fact that, we've been able to just jump into, probably a couple of generations and into this world of technology, I think is fantastic. On the other hand, I'm not surprised. I think that we've been discussing for a very, very long time the gap between how we are educating our children, how we've been educated in a sense. I can speak from my personal experience. I joined the world of technology only 10 or 11 years ago, and it was a massive sort of transformative experience for me. And if I look at how I was trained, even at university and even at school, I wasn't probably prepared for this new reality. So that's the reason why organizations like Junior Achievement are so relevant. Just trying to bridge that gap. And I think we are trying to help sort of the educational system get up to speed with how the world is changing. I think that unfortunately, structurally, that's part of the system of society. It's to hold back, into old habits and old way of thinking. And as we're going to see probably, throughout the panel, there's a need, an urgency. The numbers tell you that we need to move much faster towards training our children, into the future skills. There's a massive gap yet, but again, I think the opportunity is there, and we are going to be able, to as an organization, I think that we can help a lot.
Thank you, Sean. Carolina, what are your views about this? Can you highlight challenges and opportunities of the digital that is also part of your world?
I was thinking about this question. I think it's a very interesting thing. There's a lot of challenges that have appeared because of this global digital economy. First is the skill gap, right? This is constantly changing. Even if we were able to bring everybody to speed up to what we need today, in 2 months, it's completely different. So it's like being in a hamster wheel. But there are other challenges that are there and that people are not fully aware of. There's the automation. The fact that we're automating a lot more things means entry-level jobs are going to be super automated, and that's less job opportunities for people who are entering the workforce for the first time. Then you have job insecurity. A lot of the figures that mention unemployment actually are including in the unemployment people who are employed outside of the system. People in Argentina are very used to working directly with whatever companies from here and getting their salary in an account here, entering it some way into the country. All of those people are outside of the system, and that's actually very dangerous as an economy, as a whole thing. And that happens all throughout America. And the fourth challenge that I see and that people are very oblivious about is privacy and cybersecurity. We didn't grow up with social media. We didn't grow up in a world where every mistake that you make as a teenager or as a young adult is plastered on the internet forever. I was reading yesterday, I saw something about one of these guys who's in one of these Netflix thingies, right? A reality TV, saying he couldn't get a job. And he's a VP, he was a VP in a tech company, and now he cannot get a job. And I saw someone from HR saying, yeah, I would never hire that person. He's violating NDAs with Netflix by sharing how much salary he got. He's violating a lot of company policies. I would never hire him, right? And people nowadays, they keep posting every single thing that comes to their mind, and it's there forever. And when they want to get a job, that's going to be a problem. And if they don't understand the basic of cybersecurity and all that, they're not going to be able to keep up with where they need to be. Now, the other side is there is the flip side. There's a lot of good things that are happening. There's remote work and flexibility that has opened the doors for women among everyone. Like the fact I've been very fortunate. I was a mother already working at Globant. Globant has a lot of policies that are very forward looking, right? I brought my baby to the office all the time. That's not common. That wasn't common. And now it's getting more and more common. We all remember the video of that news guy whose kid went in. We all remember it, right? Nobody bats an eye at that anymore. It's like, oh yeah, your kid is there. How old is he? You start asking questions. It also puts sort of a responsibility on employers. We had to implement a work from anywhere program to make sure that people were attracted to work with us, right? And I have people in my teams who work 3 months from every different country, and I envy them because I cannot do that because I have a kid who goes to school. But they are 3 months in Spain, then they go 3 months to Morocco, then they go 3 months to India. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's awesome. It also brings easy access to information and learning. Again, when we were younger, I had to go to the library, and even in the library, the books were outdated. I went to university, and whatever they taught to you at university was always just a little bit outdated. Now it's very, very, very outdated because the gap is bigger. But people have access to anything and everything they want. I have a cousin he is a lawyer. She graduated, she executed as a lawyer for a while, and she turned into IT because she was like, okay, I want to do, but it looks like this is more interesting. And she started studying from her home, and she completely switched fields. That's super cool. That couldn't be done as easily in the past. There's, I have a bunch more because I honestly think that all of the opportunities that come with being able to open the doors for people are massive, and they're leading and paving the way to generate even more diversity and inclusion. I can go forever, but I don't want to take all the time.
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you, Caro. Martin, you have a lot of experience working with poverty. So what is the current state of the skills deficit among the most marginalized communities? And could you elaborate between poverty and unemployment in this context?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having us. A lot of talk is about the future of work. But there's another way of looking at this, is the future of the worker. And that's where the opportunities are. There's little we can do about the future of work. Nobody in this room knew that we were going to be talking about artificial intelligence this afternoon, or that we were going to have COVID. But the future of the worker, the future of the 15-year-old Colombian girl, that is where the opportunities are. And so how can we move away from a reward and punishment system to one of agency and self-efficacy, where that young Colombian girl says, answers yes to the two questions. Is it worth it? And can I do it? Is it worth it? Has to do with motivation. Can I do it? Has to do with reskilling. But only reskilling without motivation, and only personal motivation and personal skills without group support is insufficient. And that is why we, as part of the junior achievement community, have this magical weapon in our hands. We can go to any rural school of Colombia, just to use the same example, and we can inspire that young girl saying, yes, I can do it. And all the girls have smartphones, have Facebook, and have WhatsApp. And nobody needed to teach them how to reskill themselves to use Facebook. So that's the opportunity that I see. It's not really that young farmers in our agricultural high schools need to learn how to use a drone. It is to dream that they can do, because shyness, problems of self-esteem, peer pressure not to go into this thing is prevalent. So that is our beautiful challenge. And so the reskilling is really on the spiritual level. And I use spiritual level in the sense that it is really the human spirit. Yeah. And that is where there is any young girl or boy throughout Latin America can be inspired. And I think that we have all seen it. We see it all the time. But we need to combine that, the drone for the young farmer, but I want to do it. And the pressures that boys and girls have not to do it are immense. So, but that is the challenge of their generation. We had other challenges. We had military dictatorships at that time. It was another challenge. Okay, now they have this challenge. So I'm very optimistic that we can blend in the entrepreneurial spirit, the future of the worker, the youth. And today we can go to every single household and personalize every single child in that house. There's apps that we can, she is shy and she likes to get into the hairdressing business, and he is shy, but he wants to get into being a technician in motorcycles. It doesn't matter, right? But I'm very optimistic but we need to personalize the needs and the solutions. And the good news is that we have that capacity right now. We have a problem with ourselves. That is, in Latin America, we are shy. We don't trust ourselves. We are afraid of the future. And we look at the United States and Europe, what are they doing? So we need to grow up,
So that's great that the skills gap is not only about technical, is we have a gap there about motivation, self-efficacy, of transmitting our youth that they can do, inspire them. So that's great to have it in a more integral way. So thank you, Martin, for bringing that up. So Nelly, from your perspective, so what are the challenges of youth today looking for their first job, their first opportunities?
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. And I want to bring specific things that I've seen with my friends in the networks I'm part of. And I've seen very specific challenges that they face, particularly in Latin America. And is that they are not taught the skills they need to acquire jobs. Like when you go, if you're privileged enough to go to university, you get a lot of skills about your specific career and specific industry you want to be a part of, but you lack those like battery of skills that would help you be more employable no matter what you want to do in your life. I'm thinking particularly about two skills: English language skills and like tech savviness in general. So in Latin America, the public system is very like deficient in teaching children like English. And even if they teach English, they are not empowered in how to actually use it as a tool. So a lot of my friends, and I have seen this a lot, when they see a job application that says you need to speak English, they don't apply, even though they have the exam, the TOEFL, whatever that says, yeah, you have the required English level. They feel that they can't.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. They have never had a place to practice English. So that is a very like tangible barrier. And the second one is like tech savviness, because we've seen a lot that, okay, there's a lot of job openings for programmers. And if you want to go to a web developer, you have to study coding and you will have opportunities. But it's this idea that no matter what you want to do, if you have some tech skills, you are more employable. I studied social sciences. And when I was doing my job research, when I was looking for my first job, a lot of jobs require me to have some skills that I didn't have. For example, if I knew the basics of programming, then I could do statistical work that is essential to social sciences, so I could become more employed, but I didn't have those skills. If I could do data visualization, data analysis, that are not only in the tech sector, across every industry. And we've seen this shift in the market, but I don't think we have seen this in the educational market. So people are not teach about this, and they have to face the reality when they want to go to the job market. And I think these type of skills, they have things in common. There's like they are expensive to get because you are not teach them in the educational system, and you need to invest a lot of time. So if you want to learn English, you need to go to a private academy, and you need to invest a lot of years. And time and money are those two things that vulnerable youth do not have. So this creates like a further divide in those who, particularly in Latin America, who can invest to study English, can invest to become tech savvy and have digital literacy, and those ones who can't. And they need to rely in the informal market that is very present. It's not that they are not getting jobs, they are getting low paying, low job quality jobs in general. And another thing I want to add is I think a thing that could really help young people in Latin America is having this culture of networking. Because I think networking is something we come across when we are older, but actually being a part of networking and networks and having a mentor, a professional coachee, is things we don't see in Latin America a lot. And if you get like a 15-year-old kid and you get them a professional coach, a mentor, someone that can help them, they can become more aware of these trends, more aware of job positionings. But we are not seeing that, and I think that could be a very powerful tool that could help bridge this gap too.
Great, very concrete. Nelly, you brought the recipe that we need to follow. Thank you for that. We will move now to round two, and we want to talk here about partnerships in junior achievement. We believe that we cannot solve all of the challenges alone. So let's go back. Martin, you have a lot also of experience between private and public partnerships. How can we work? How can we work together, private and public sector, to develop a educational system that is more effective to, as Nelly said, try to really train our students, our youth, to be more employable, to have more opportunities?
There are many beautiful things about my country, but there are also very serious problems. And the formal educational system in Paraguay sucks. It really is bad. It's been co-opted by the Partido Colorado. It's a political machine. Yet the Paraguay economy is booming, and we have very low unemployment. So what has happened is that the private sector has taken upon itself to train the youth. So we're very lucky to be near Brazil and Argentina, but we have good beef.
We might challenge you on that one. We might. We might. You have
We
a lot of Argentinians in this panel. Be careful.
We also have good soybeans. So Paraguay is there in the top 10 of these two industries. And we also have electricity. And so right now, for example, there's a huge private sector Paraguayan investor of $3.5 billion in forestry. Because we know the success story of Uruguay. But in Paraguay, it rains more and it's hotter, so trees grow faster. So some of the industry is moving into Paraguay for pulp and paper. The industry is going to train everybody. And so I'm involved in creating a new degree, a new high school degree for forestry. So students know how to do a nursery, know how to fertilize, know how to put, the whole thing. So that is the future. Understand what the private sector is looking for and provide the skills. It's like forestry technician with the entrepreneurial spirit on how to get a job, how to write, how to interview, how to move away from the rural village into this unknown thing. So, there are many opportunities out there, but the private sector has a role. I mean, if the private sector is going to depend on the Paraguayan Ministry of Education to train the workforce, it's not going to happen. So, Bunge is training ADN is training all the big companies are doing the training, and we actually have very good manpower in that sense. So it's a public-private partnerships, but very specific, and it's very successful actually.
Thank you, Martin, for that. So another aspect that private sector can help with, and I will ask Sean this, is it's a lot more, maybe more flexible, and it's quicker to adapt. So in technology that is constantly evolving, as Caro was saying before, 2 months from now, things are out of date. So how can the digital skills also will change? How can public and private partnerships can help ensure that educational programs stay current and stay relevant to the needs?
So first, I think, as you mentioned, clearly the private sector is well ahead in terms of understanding what are the current needs and projecting what are going to be the future ones. I think first we should be clear about turning around and sharing that, look, these are the skills and these are the gaps that we're seeing. It's not just about the skills, but even though we are constantly interviewing people and recruiting people, it's like, this is what we are missing. The second piece, I think, is sort of the inspiration. And to your point, Martin, about our youth, they are lacking sort of the inspiration and the conviction that they can change from this reality, my current reality, to this future reality. Having more of these technology companies, the Nubanks, the Globans, the Despegars, the Mercado Libres of this world, and showing that yes, we come from small Latin American countries. We're normal people, but we can leverage technology and build incredible sort of products, companies. Suddenly it's an inspiration because we come from a region where you are taught in general, on average, you're taught that nothing is possible. The reality is not possible to change. My personal reality. But when we talk specifically in junior achievement, when we talk about entrepreneurship, for me it's more about creating, giving children, students, that conviction that you can have an entrepreneurial mindset more than how many companies. Like I can see Eliana, she has a company, but it's less about how many people are going to build a company. It's more about taking ownership of your life. So I think that having more of these technology companies and other entrepreneurial companies showing the way and showing that it is possible, it's super important. Having said that, and that agility and that speed, and bias to action. Now, where does the public come? The public, we can make all these efforts, but my impression is that we will always fail on scalability. We were talking about, one of the things that we want is, its impact and scalability. We need the scalability that public sector can bring. Any of these countries, relies on who touches the most lives, the public sector. So if we really want to have great impact. At small scale, I think that we can keep going just in the private route. If we want to do that together with scalability, somehow, and it's not an easy match, you know, it's culturally, we're totally different, but we need to find, as I think that we're doing with many programs in junior, we need to find places where we try to match your scalability, your agility, your needs, you know, our content, and find a way to bridge the gap on the cultural side. And I think that we do it. Is it perfect? Is it easy? No. But I think that, you know, that's sort of the way forward if we want to achieve both objectives.
Thank you, Sean. And yes, we agree. In junior achievement, we are working a lot trying to partner with the public sector in this way. But it's not easy, but we need to find a way, definitely.
And inside, if I can add, inside the public sector, we tend to talk about the public sector as, you know, a big thing. There are lots of people. And even if ideologically we're totally different, in essence, we want the same, you know, progress for the children, for the students. It's about, you know, many times it's about the dialogue. We go into that conversation with, we're totally different. And in the end, we have much more things that we are aligned than what separate us.
Bueno, Carolina, you mentioned before diversity, inclusion, and there is a lot of conversations around women and technology. And you're a software engineer, you have a great career there, but still only 25% of those working in the software industry are women. So how can this kind of public-private partnerships can help increase the representation of women? And women have that possibility of projecting themselves in this industry.
The way we look at it has to be a systemic approach. It has to be something that goes end to end, and where the programs that we are thinking transcend different barriers. When we start any sort of investment that goes into inclusion, if it is something like starting a hub in Tandil, starting our company in Tandil, we look at it long term and we see how is this going to benefit the population? How is this going to benefit the town? How is this going to benefit other things? We went to Tandil, I want to say 2011, something like that. And right now, Tandil is a massive tech hub. When we went there, we were the only company. And we look at it that way, right? And you don't do that by yourself. You do it by talking to the local public university, talking to the local government, talking to lots of different pieces. And when we're looking at women specifically, this is an area where we honestly have a lot of involvement. We love this. We are very fortunate that Pato Pomies, our COO, has this as kind of like her holy grail is to get to 50% women in leadership. And you don't do that just by saying, I have a quota of 50% women in leadership. It's not as easy as that. You have to start all the way back to elementary and middle school, right? That's why we have programs that start with inspiring. We have the Inspire Garage, where we go to kids. The last edition of the program had 10,000 participants, average 16 years old. And we try to inspire them to going into the STEAM field, to show to them things that they are totally clueless about, like what it really takes to create a game. They all like playing games. They all love playing FIFA, but they have no idea that the number of skills that you need to develop a game is massive. You need people who can draw this little thing. You need people who can code. You need people who can analyze data. You need people who can do a lot of different things. Then we move into education. For education, we actually rely on public and private partnerships. We are frenemies. We're absolute frenemies.
Oh, we friends only.
We are, because we compete for the same talent. We compete for the absolute same talent. We have, every once in a while, we have to put agreements in place, like we'll stop taking this sort of skill from you. Don't we?
No, we don't.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
No, we don't. I can't tell you for sure.
But then we created Certified Tech Developer together, which is a career to start getting people educated and into technology. We have scholarships like Code Your Future that has tons of participants all the time. We ensure that we hire people. We hire keeping diversity in mind. We have a program called Back in the Game that brings women who have left the field, and it gives them the opportunity to start over. They maybe had a gap because they had kids. They may have had a gap for whatever reason, but we make sure we give them the tools to, kickstart that road back to wherever they want to be. Then you need to also have a company. You can't, nowadays with the diversity we all have, and this goes way beyond women, right? You have neurodivergent people. You have to accompany all those different types of people that you have in your world. Women and men, they all become parent in different ways. There's different parenting styles and parenting needs and situations. You have to be there for them and walk the walk with them, right? That might mean some people, you give them a special license to always work from home, whatever. But it also means going to your own employees and running surveys to understand how many of them see themselves as neurodivergent. We found out that 35% of our people find themselves as neurodivergent. That's a huge number. Can you train them all the same way? We have to be constantly reskilling. You can't train them all the same way. So you have to start thinking about, okay, what strategies am I going to use to make sure that out of my 27,000 employees, because we have 27,000 employees by now, how do I make sure that they're all in this? How do I make sure that they can all keep growing? And then, of course, you have leadership. We have the goal that we have announced publicly that we want 50% women in leadership. Some people complain and say, why? Why do you have to have a cupo femenino, right? Why do you have to have the women? It's because it's the only way to balance the scale. Sometimes you have to go overboard. Sometimes you have to force people. We still have some people in our company that out of 10, they have one woman in their team, right? And we force them, we put KPIs on them. We tell them, you cannot be doing this. I went to a meeting with one of the companies we acquired. So this is not our fault, we acquired them. I went to a meeting and it was 29 people and I was the only woman. I was pissed. This was 6 months ago. I was pissed and I said it out loud in the meeting, like, guys, next time I come here, this cannot be like this. We need people who say this. We need people who stop and take the time to acknowledge the fact that there's a lot that needs to be done. Some people may still need to understand that there's a lot to be done. You need to guide them to do that as well.
Wow. Bueno, I love so I love Carolina brought these issues, not only about public-private partnerships, also between private companies. There are also very interesting partnerships that are happening. So that's also a great way to look at it. So Nelly, tell us about design of this type of partnerships. Do you think youth voices, youth perspectives are taken into account, or how can they be involved also in that, so that there is also the youth perspective embedded within the partnerships?
Yeah, well, I think absolutely you have to have youth voices here. If you target youth particularly, then you need their voices as the target group. But even if you don't specifically work for youth, you still need to take them into account because they will be the workforce of the future. And I think it's very important to have them on board to create like more solid solutions. And I think it would be important to include them not only in like, do you think this solution is great, like review this program we designed, but also in the identification of the problem. Because I've seen a lot that youth are not bring to the decision table beforehand, like they're only bring like, after, this is what we think, this is what we design. Do you agree? Is it gonna work? But if you actually bring them like beforehand, like to the identification of the problem, I think great things can appear. Because when we think about youth unemployment, I think it's a multi-layer problem with a lot of different aspects to it, particularly if you have like intersectionality, like gender and poverty and different things that can make it a problem for someone. If you actually add the perspective of the person who is suffering the problem, you can gain great insights and different perspectives. And once you understand the problem you try to solve, then you can create much better solutions. So I think definitely we should include young people, and we should include them as decision makers, like from the first moment. As Carolina said, a problem is not solved at the last step; it's all the way behind. So I definitely think we need to include them, and it's at the decision makers. When you want to gather data, when you are trying, to identify how we should move forward, like having youth advisories, open consultation.
We have one. We created the first Gen Z council. We have our Council of Igniters. So that started a year and a half ago, something like that. And it's basically this tiny little kids that make me feel old as heck, but they're giving direction and they're giving us views that we would never be able to have otherwise. So it's super cool.
I think you can really benefit from the perspective of youth. I think we have like a lot to say. I think there's still a lot of empowering to do for them to take that place. But if like the private and public companies open that seat at the table, and I think youth will definitely feel it, and they will definitely do great work. And if you want to like connect with your target population, you definitely need to bring them beforehand. I think especially when you are trying to work with vulnerable communities. I done some work, like local work with vulnerable communities, and they realize when you didn't take them into account before, they know you didn't consult with us on this solution. You're just bringing it from your place of expertise, and you think this is the best for us. But it's not the way to go. If you really incorporate them beforehand, I think they will take your solutions better, and you would have not invested a lot of time and effort in a solution to then see that the participants are not taking it well, or you simply cannot connect. So I think there's a lot of reasons why to include them and a lot of ways to do it, and a lot of great work done.
Well, we have Nelly on the team now, so. Well, just to end up before opening the questions to the audience, I would ask each one of you to bring a concrete best practice that you can share with us where scale and impact through partnerships have been gained. So if you can think of one that you could share with us to inspire us and to say that this is possible and that this is happening. I don't know if you have one?
I can
go
go
ahead
with one. This started in 2019. We started the Women That Build Awards. We started it ourselves. It was an initiative that we created because we wanted to bring visibility to women in different situations, all levels of the hierarchy to inspire, right? Of course, we have lots of partners in those awards. And the last edition, we had 1,100 candidates that received a total of 110,000 votes. That's a lot of impact and a lot of scale. And the awards were published at the NYSC. We were in Times Squares and everything. The good thing about this is how we operate, right? We always start small, and we have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. You talked about the entrepreneurial spirit. We consider ourselves a 27,000 people startup. So what happens is these sort of ideas, they start with one random person thinking about it, and we keep them growing. It's not only the external partnerships, but even the internal partnerships that make these things flourish, right? We had people who were visionaries, and they were able to understand what this would mean, not only to the individuals that actually win, but to everyone who votes for them and to everyone who understands that, hey, you know what? Women are making a massive impact here. Women in technology are completely changing the landscape. And we've heard some stories that seriously give you goosebumps because they're so enriching, and it's just pure admiration for every single one of the winners and participants.
Thank you, Carolina. Sean?
I was thinking part of the work that we've been doing with Junior, starting in Argentina, but nowadays in the region. If I look backwards, probably when you started in Argentina, how many technology partners do we have with the company, with the foundation? I think it's 0. So we were very focused on the traditional way of doing, and it was everything in person. And suddenly thinking about the skills that were needed for the future, we said, oh, there isn't really a match between our focus, our historical focus, and our historical partners. And I can't remember which was the first one, but we started a series of partnerships with most technology companies. We have either here from Salesforce, we have SAP, Microsoft, Google, and it was made and it was interesting to see how there was like a multiplying effect. Because the 2 examples there, we partnered with them. Many of the programs we co-developed because we took that experience that they had on which are the skills that are needed and how to deliver them together. But there was a multiplying effect because we started with one of the partners, and then that was like a leading case, to go and convince, the second partner, and suddenly, we're partnered with everyone, and everyone understands how and different programs, they complement each other. And I think the scale wasn't necessarily reached with one of the programs by itself, but by, all the different programs. And now we're reaching, thousands of students, who are being trained in the right way and for the right sort of skills. And the other multiplying effect is separate example, and actually it wasn't a technology case. What I've seen is historically in junior, what I've seen is each sponsor company wants like their ad hoc sort of kind of program, which I think is very much of an old mentality. And as we've been much clear about, look, these are the programs that have the most impact, and you have Mercado Libre and you have Go, and everyone suddenly is like, oh, let's join forces. Instead of being focused on, do I have like my ad hoc program? It's more about, I have a consortium of, we're, all working together in this program, and we're having a multiplying effect because instead of reaching 1,000 students, we can make it to 5,000 students.
I see Jasmine smiling because that's her, her dream, our consortiums.
But I think that, we have to move away. That's part of the old mentality, and we have it in the private sector about, I need my ad hoc personalized program. No, we need to all go after the things that are going to have the most impact.
Yes, and ad hoc is not scalable.
Exactly. By definition, we should say ad hoc, not scalable.
Martin?
Well, yes and no. Technology today allows us to have personalized programs. So the ultra ad hoc. We in Paraguay developed a new way to measure poverty that is called the poverty stoplight. It's a semáforo de eliminación de pobreza. And we have found that what junior achievement teaches, which is the entrepreneurial, is the key for people to overcoming poverty in income, in employment, in housing. It's the entrepreneurial spirit of the mother that will fix her bathroom or not, fix her teeth or not. So how can we, to scale, we need to find other industries that are waiting for us. The poverty policy area, zero entrepreneurship. It's all about government. It's all about GNP per capita. No. So we are sitting here on an energy that is junior achievement, that is the entrepreneurial spirit. And who said that this youth entrepreneurial spirit cannot be used by adults? We are using it for adults. We started our junior achievement program for the children of our microfinance clients. So we had 50,000 women, and we said, the children of these pupusa sales ladies need the education. Then they said, that is what I need. And so we did a reverse thing and took the youth entrepreneurship education programs to the adults. And once the adults said this, that is what we need. And so I think that we need to find other industries that are waiting for us. And technology can allow us to change perspectives, because perspective is rationality. And so, for example, I'll just give you an example. Governments measure food security. That's how they measure. Or they measure financial inclusion. And what is financial inclusion? There is a bank in the slum. There is an ATM machine in the market. No. Financial inclusion is we have a family budget, green, yellow, or red. We have family savings, green, yellow. It's the perspective. And today, technology allows us to capture the perspective of the people, and it's a completely different world. And I'm very encouraged with the receptivity of the people of changing. They're ready to change, but we are the problem. And so, but we have to, for example, I asked the people at the United Nations, where did you come up with development goals? No, we're the experts, but who did you ask? No, it's here in New York. No. Did you ask the woman in Egypt? What is, today we can scale, but in a personalized,
Customized way.
customize family development plans. Remember the national development plans or the state or regional development, the city. No, now we can have family by family, and each one has a motivation aspect, a gender aspect, and this is at the hands now. And with artificial intelligence, we can increase the impact. I'm very encouraged, very optimistic about the future.
Thank you, Martin. I think we have to have a senior achievement now in Paraguay. So, Nelly, your final words and examples, something you want to share before we open the floor for questions.
Yeah. So I want to share what I've seen in terms of impact programs created by young people. And what I mean by this is young people who got together and thought of a problem they want to solve and create a program with no budget and no money, no nothing. So I think when you see these type of programs, you can get like good examples to follow, because these people who do a lot with very little. And so how did they scale a program where they have no money, all volunteers, and they're creating great positive impact? What they always do is like they create networks and they connect each other and they create people who are willing to do great work. So this teenager in Brazil, I deeply admire her, and she created a program focused on raising awareness about the environment, and she has reached like over 7,000 people in the region, which is a lot. She's 17 and she's created this on her own. And when I told her, how did you do this? And she told me, I contacted with volunteers all across the region who wanted to do great work, and we shared a vision, and I told them what we want to do, and they did it. So I think this is really powerful thing about connecting with young people from all across the world. I think there's a lot of power in what we can do and a lot of willingness. I think that's the key thing here, like willingness. And I think just for like expand these youth programs, you just need to have a lot of passion and find people who are passionate about it. And that is how I've seen young people expand the impact they do. I cannot speak about these private public partnerships, but I think you can great examples if you want to look into these small scale impact programs, but that at the end reach a lot of people across countries.
Thank you very much.